Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Face to Face here on eKartingNews.com, both on the YouTube channel and on our Facebook page as well. I'm Rob Howden. That, of course, is David Cole. And another Face to Face as we're into the 2022 season right now. We've seen a lot of racing already. We talked about the fact that the CKNA Cup Karts North America drivers were at Jacksonville at the start of the year. Then we went to the SCUSA Winter Series in Homestead, the Florida Winter Tour kicking off as well in Pompano Beach for the Rock drivers. And then last weekend, Rotax, a name that we have talked about so many times over the last, couple of decades on eKartingNews.com and in all the other programs. Rotax has been a big part. It's still a huge part of the world karting scene, not so much in the U.S. right now, but it is on the rise, coming back up. And they got rolling as well, David, the RTX group handling essentially the southern part of the states. And they put on the Rotax Winter Trophy at Orlando Kart Center this past weekend. And you and I have been to a lot of Rotax races over the years. Grand Nationals. We were at a couple of the, I think we've been to 3 of the Grand Finals. It's cool to see Rotax coming back. Obviously a global brand. And for them to kick off their 2022 season was good to see that in Orlando.
Yeah, one of my first European trips was to the Rotax Grand Finals in 2006. So
yeah,
it's been a long time. Yeah, we've been involved with the Rotax program for a long time and promoting what it does. And it's been it really was the trigger for tag racing here in the United States.
Indeed.
I mean, it was club based. It was grassroots oriented. It was that touch and go feel of just get in the cart and take off. And it's still around, and it's still, evolving as our sport evolves and the world evolves. And it's still one of the world's biggest karting promotions in the world.
Well, I think we all wait, right, to see that one picture. One of the most iconic pictures in all of karting, at least the last couple of decades, is the lineup of all the karts with the chassis and everything at the Grand Finals when they present the karts and everybody picks their cart up. It's just an amazing photo. And again, the Grand Finals, again, it's the Olympics of karting, right? It's however many countries come in, all the national teams. It's an amazing race.
Yeah, that's the one thing, I think when we first started going, there was maybe 30 to 40 countries. Now it's evolved into 50, maybe even 60 countries, I believe. I think Henry will help us out with that a little bit more, but there's just so much growth in it. And it truly is, we have the Winter Olympics coming up. And for karting, the Rotax Grand Finals is truly that, because you have all these nations represented, all drivers from all different backgrounds and cultures and all coming together, racing on the same package in the same categories. And really just, it's a good camaraderie and it's great competition because it's kind of even playing fields. Like everybody, it's basically, it's kind of everything revolves around the driver. It's all based on how they perform and what they're able to do with what they're given.
Yeah, it's a global name too, right? With Rotax and BRP. So we're kicking off this face-to-face, talking about the RTX group and the Rotax Winter Trophy that happened this past weekend down at Orlando Kart Center. We've got Esteban Del Rio from the RTX Karting Group that's going to be joining us, but also we have the voice of Rotax internationally, Henry Beaudette, joining us. Let's bring them in here right now. And it's interesting because Henry's not even over in the UK right now. He's in Michigan, which is like, really? We're in Michigan. So a couple of guys from Michigan.
I'm in Michigan, right near David. In fact, actually, I mean, it was obviously Esteban will say it was quite cold this weekend in Orlando, but it's a little bit cold up here in Michigan. The top of my head is just a little bit cold. So just for David, hang on a second. Just to keep my head warm. Is that okay, David?
Wow.
Is that okay? No one minds.
Fantastic. Go State.
Exactly. I know David from for some time. I know that he is a UFM fan.
You know what? Just shut this off. We're done. We'll come back later.
Sorry about that. But no, just keep my head warm. Sorry.
Some people to know, David's a big University of Michigan fan. That's, of course, Michigan State Spartans. I love that. That's great from Henry. Hey, Henry, first off, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. The voice of Rotax Karting internationally. Thanks for so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me on, guys. It's great to finally get onto eKartingNews.
Well, it was really cool, right? We saw, of course, the launch of the Florida program, the Winter Trophy, and then they're building things up, and all of a sudden you're involved, and then Ryan Norberg's involved as ambassador. Then some guy named Rubens Barrichello shows up to go racing. This became a pretty interesting run. Esteban, let's talk to you first. Let's kind of focus now on what happened this past weekend. I know you guys are handling the Rotax program in the southern states of the United States. You got a lot going on in 2022. We'll get to that later in the show. But let's just talk about that opening weekend. It's Florida. You expect to go down there with a lot of sunshine. You had a beautiful day on Friday, but man, the rain came to make things pretty interesting on Saturday.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having us again. Yes, it was really amazing. We were thrilled, as you said. Rubens Barrichello, his sons also participated. Then Antonio Pizzonia also registered. So we had two former Formula One drivers competing on our event. I've been speaking with Master Max drivers, and they were all thrilled about sharing the track and competing against Rubens and Antonio and maybe winning some heat or anything. So it was crazy. It was nice. Weather was really strange, but the drivers had to show their ability because they had to qualify and make hit number one without any rain. But then the rain came and they have to change everything on the go. And there we have really good races on Saturday, rainy races. And then on Sunday, really cold but dry again. So it was continuous changing. So drivers from 16 different nations were participating. They are looking and seeking for the first opportunity in the year to win a Grand Final 2022 ticket. So we had people all around the world having us. It was a great event.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing first and foremost, right? Is that this really was the first opportunity to drive for drivers to be able to win tickets. At least the series is, right? Not that one race. They're going to come back on the next weekend. But this is the first opportunity. And you had drivers, like you said, from all over the world in different countries. How many countries in total were actually represented at the opening round?
There were 16 different nations representing in 60 plus drivers we had. So it was really diverse in countries matters. And that's also really enjoyable because you speak with people from different nationalities. They have their Rotax experience in their countries and they come here to look for a possibility. And that's really nice.
The next round at Orlando taking place February 5th and 6th. So not this weekend, but the following weekend. So if you're a Rotax racer, hasn't had a chance to get out there yet, good opportunity to do so. Before we came on the show, Esteban actually told us that there are drivers who have already entered that weren't at that first race. So they're expecting more drivers. Now, the thing, Esteban, and I'll say this straight out, there's no, it's kind of the elephant in the room to a certain extent, but you didn't have the same numbers that a SCUSA Winter Series or Florida Winter Tour had because they've been around. SCUSA's been on the IME engine for 10 years with the Pro Tour, and the Rock's been around forever. We know that Rotax was huge here in the U.S. at one point, was huge in Canada as well. You guys are rebuilding. Let's be real, right? And you guys are working hard. So everybody knew you get to come to try that package, which is obviously one of the best packages you can get on. I raced Rotax myself back a number of years ago when I did a lot more racing. You guys are really rebuilding, right? That's what's happening here.
Absolutely. I mean, after the nice years Rotax had some years ago, we now have the work to do to make a lot of races happen, make people again trust on the brand, having a nice customer service, having a warranty issue fully established from start to the end. So we are rebuilding, as you say. We are working hard to try to be present this year in the three main states of Southern USA, going to be in Florida, Texas, and then California also. We want to host races, we want to host events, and people say, hey, Rotax back, let's again give it a chance. The engine program, it's amazing. Everybody knows that, but we have to work hard to make people again near Rotax one more time.
Well, isn't it interesting, too, because in our sport, we always talk about the fact that we turn over maybe 75% of our sport every 4 to 5 years, right? So a lot of the new people that are in the sport right now, those kids may not even have been born back when Rotax was so big, but literally it was massive. Every Grand Nationals we ever had here was always 200 plus in terms of entries. We've had great teams that have gone to run at the Grand Finals. Canada's always been super strong as well. Henry, let's come to you right now, because even though Rotax isn't super strong here right now, it is most definitely growing. We've seen it happen in the northern states with the Stars and Stripes programs last year, everything that RTX has been doing. Globally, Rotax is still super strong. Let's just talk briefly about that. What are your thoughts on Rotax and how it is globally?
Well, I mean, to give you an idea of how Rotax is globally, in Bahrain, the 2021 Grand Finals, which took place, just a couple of weeks before Christmas, so about a month ago, even despite the situation around the pandemic around the world that restricted some countries, we still had 61 different nations competing, and that's without the likes of New Zealand and South Africa who couldn't attend. But also there were countries that normally send several drivers who qualify by rights. They didn't get any tickets at all this year because their drivers just couldn't qualify. The likes of Algeria and Egypt and Morocco and places like that. So I think globally, Rotax is very strong. Obviously, like Esteban said, in the United States, both RTX Karting, Gonzalo and the team at RTX Karting, Esteban and his team at Grid 40 Motorsports, but also Justin and his team at J3 competition in the north of the United States. It is a rebuilding program. I think what everyone's doing is really sensible, taking small steps, step by step, working on the basics of getting drivers in the US and Canada. In the US, trust the brand, come to an event, experience what it's like to be part of the Rotax family, because when Rotax say that it's a family, it's not a sort of a PR sort of stunt. With the distributor network and things like that, you do feel as though you're part of a wide international family. I think the event, it was such an honor to be part of the first sort of Rotax Winter Trophy in Florida, since my mentor and friend Ken Walker was doing the Florida Winter Tour when that was with Rotax some time ago. What got me was it was great to have the Formula One drivers there. But what I liked is that there's several drivers there competing on a Rotax engine for the first time. And the thing with Rotax is that, you can have drivers like Rubens Barrichello and Antonio Pizzonia racing against the likes of Vince Carey, who I met for the first time. He's 47 from New York City.
Yes.
But he drove down and he was like, I'm an everyday guy. I race competitively, but I go to work on a Monday morning. This is the best opportunity I can get to race competitively, on a budget, and I can still travel around. Now I can travel a bit further, and hey, once in a while I get to race against people I idolize, which I think was really special. That mix of young, hungry drivers, the stars of tomorrow, like Ryan Norberg, who came up through Rotax and is now the US national champion, the established stars of today, and the sort of the once a month warriors, the backbone of the sport, the privateer drivers who can compete in Rotax, because there is a warranty program with the engine. The promoters and the distributors are accessible. You can go to them and say, help, what do I do? How do I help service this? Rotax has this global servicing program with Steve Ogden in the UK. He can fly to the UK and to fly to Austria and be taught how to maintain the engine, how to tune the engine, which I think is really important as well.
Well, it's interesting because then again, we talked about, I used the word rebuilding when I'm talking to Esteban, right? And what they're trying to do. But really, what it comes down to, because of the changeover in people, it almost becomes more about education. We're really educating people on the brand itself, because everybody, when it was so strong in the US, people knew how great the engine was. We had the service centers, right? Everything was so fantastic. It's such a great engine package. Now it's about educating people. And I like when you talk about new people being there. And Esteban, we'll talk about this. You have new people coming to the next race in a couple of weeks, like you mentioned. Really, I think some of it is going to be word of mouth, right? A driver's going to cut, like the driver you're talking about came down from New York. He's going to come down and say, I had a fantastic time. You got to go check out one of these races, or this is my first time I've driven the Rotax, and he's going to tell all his or her friends, and all of a sudden, okay, word of mouth, I'm going to go try this thing as well. We're really educating people on the brand that is Rotax and just how top quality is, and how Henry, as you said, how expansive the program is. This isn't just a buy an engine, go racing. There's so much around it to support customers.
No, exactly. I think what Esteban and his team at Grid 40 Motorsports do, I mean, you guys know that at the Rotax Grand Finals, there's a huge welcome party. There's the Mojo tire changing competition. There's like nation versus nation team contests. There's lots of extra things that make the events feel more than just a kart race meeting. That's why you've called it's the Olympics of karting. Even with 60 drivers this weekend, there was a welcome party. The organizer, Esteban and his team, they put some free food and drinks on for all the drivers and their mechanics and families at the circuit after testing on Friday. And people sort of, the first one said, "Well, what's it for?" And the answer was, "Well, no, it's just to say hi. Just to say hi, just to say thank you.
We're here.
Just to say, this is us. If you wanted to meet with the organizers when they're not behind their desk, when they're not out in the mechanics area, sort of doing the engine servicing, any questions? They showed a video of obviously of their plans for the year, the 9 events, the combination of Rotax Life, Endurance, and also the Winter Tour and the Winter Trophy rather, and the other events that they're going to host out in Texas and California to help to go to the national the national finals, so the drivers from the south can accumulate points and then go to the US national finals and aim to get more tickets. So little things like that, and they go a long way to new drivers who I was very flattered with the amount of support that I got from drivers who said, oh, they see me on the grand finals and other events. But it was just that's the way that a lot of Rotax events are. That this is not a kart meeting. This is an event.
Yeah.
Okay, you're using our engines, and hopefully you're going away and telling people and buying more engines off us, the business side. But no, we want you to come and experience an event and be part of something that is not just karts on track. It's that family feel.
I like that. Now, Esteban, let's go back to you and let's talk about, you look back at the last race we had last weekend. What are the positives you see from that event? And you guys are always trying to evolve, right? You're always trying to make a better event. So when you think about the race that's happening on February the 5th and the 6th, what changes, what updates may you do for that next race? But let's just start with the positives from that opening round.
Well, the positive thing, the first one, according to what you were saying, Rob, it's like for the 60 plus drivers we had, more than half were micro, mini, and junior drivers. So there are new drivers that maybe they don't know Rotax in program on those days. So we think that's amazing because they love the engine, they love the program, and they are 8, 10, 9 years old. So it's pure passion they have, and they have a really fair races. They were racing under the rain for each position, and it was really fair. And they compete nationally. We had a lot of huge drivers that compete in SCUSA and Rock Cup and everything, but they also choose Rotax to look for not only the grand final ticket, but also to compete on a really fair basis and a new program for them because they're new for Rotax. So that's, I think, really good for us because maybe some of them were brought there by their parents who love Rotax in the past years, but others, they are coming because their teammates say, hey, Rotax is a nice engine and blah, blah, blah. So we thought that was really good. We must change weather for the next.
Yes.
And of course, I think we also, every race it's an experience, and every race is a point where we learn from the mistakes were made and what to improve. Inside the organization, there are a lot of things that we always try to work and improve that maybe drivers don't even care about or don't even see it. But we think about schedule issues. We need to work hard on schedule. In fact, we spoke with Henry. We weren't late. We were early on schedule on Sunday, for example. And we think that might seem okay, but it's not okay. We must be on schedule, not early, not after. So, I mean, we always work every race. After we finish the race, we have a team meeting where we make like a point-by-point thing where to improve. So I'm sure next event is going to be better from our organizational point of view. And also, very important for drivers, each event has 2 rounds, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. Next event, February 5th and 6th, the round 3, so the Saturday race, will award 50% more points than any other race.
Oh, okay.
So every driver, even if they didn't come to event 1, they still have a chance to be champion. So it's really open, the championship. So it's open for everybody to come and try to seek their opportunities to win the ticket. We think this is a good opportunity.
Esteban, what do you guys have planned for 2022? Let's jump into that now. You mentioned going into Texas and into California. We know that you're going to wrap up the Winter Trophy on February the 5th and the 6th. You're going to give away some tickets. We're going to find out a couple of drivers who are heading to the grand finals. But what are you guys doing? What's RTX Karting doing in the southern states in 2022?
Okay, so our plan, our program is to make one event a month between March and November. Those events will be divided in 3. We're going to have Rotax Live events. Rotax Live is a new program that Rotax is working on and is pushing hard on US, where it's a one-day event, open engines to everybody that wants to come, focus mainly on final driver, final customer, not so many on big teams, because we want to have this that Henry was mentioning about having like a family event day with karting races, but not so much karting races with all the other bikes, right? So everybody can come. It's the first time I think an engine brand supports an open engine tag races. So we think it's going to be good. We're also going to be doing Rotax endurance events, races between 2 or 4 hours, depending on the event. Teams of 3 drivers. We're going to have 1 division micro and mini drivers and 1 division junior, senior, and master drivers. So we're going to have 2 races each event, 2 endurance races. And we also think this is a good opportunity to make people again say, hey, I can try Rotax with a low-cost entry-level fee, because people today, they are expending a lot in high competition karting, and we need to rebuild. We need to make them give the opportunity to try the Rotax program, and we think this is a good way to make it low-cost entry-level so they can try. And of course, being the Rotax maybe one of the only engines available to run for 4 hours without having any issues. So I think that's a good message that we give when we do the race, when we hold the races. And all these events also mixed to win 2 championships, 1 in Florida, 1 in Texas, of 2 rounds each, awarding points to compete at US finals at the end of the year, because US finals, that is going to be hosted by J3, also will award tickets to grand finals. So it's going to be like a second opportunity for drivers that didn't win the ticket in Winter Trophy to again push hard to win their tickets. So it's going to be a year with 11 events during the year for Rotax, accounting Winter Trophy. And we think that's a lot, but it's necessary also to make Rotax again near people one more time.
That's it. We're talking about educating people about the Rotax program. I love the opportunities. I love endurance racing. I think that's a lot of fun. One thing I want to bring up, and let's go back to Henry again. We'll talk about the grand finals because, of course, we watched from home here. David did a great job, I think, covering Team USA. One of the interesting things was the electric program. Talk a little bit about Rotax's E program.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think that Stephen Chapman at Rotax has done an awful lot of work, and Daryl Smith, the test driver. So the E20 car, it's the second generation of electric carts from Rotax. Of course, they made their very first appearance in public, I think, as a demonstration in 2017. In Brazil in 2018, there was a guest class, and now the DEKM, the Deutsche Elektrik Kartmannschaft, it runs regularly in Germany, but it's been a guest class up until 2021, and I think we had a grid of 18 drivers, including the likes of Theo Kakati from the UAE, who's been a top 5 competitor in other classes, Hannes Morin from Sweden, Matilda Olsen, a former double European Rotax champion from Sweden. The racing was very, very good indeed, and I think Rotax are getting to the stage where it requires an awful lot of technical support from Rotax to get the carts running. But I mean, look, in the driver's tent, there was all sorts of telemetry that was available to the E20 drivers, where they would all go and look around a screen afterwards, and each driver would have like a telemetry data going across the screen to show what percentage they were close to running at 100% the maximum, which is really fascinating stuff. They're giving a lot of insight. Rotax obviously want to get to the stage where you don't need an entire laboratory of scientists to run a grid of E20 carts regularly. I mean, the US has got Ellis Spiezia from Hoboken, New Jersey, who now spends his time between New Jersey and Germany. He's decided that he's going to be one of the first drivers to do his entire racing career in electric vehicles. He competed in the grand finals. I think someone has christened him the Electric Renegade or something like that. I mean, he's certainly got the long hair, the renegade hair. But and Rotax are looking at North America as a chance to, because it's a rebuilding program, how to turn a negative into a positive. There are several, obviously, countries like the UK, which are extremely well supported in terms of numbers in Rotax. The culture is being sort of non-stop there for years and years and years. To introduce a brand new category of like e-karting into the UK, where there are lots of drivers that know exactly what they're getting from the main Rotax classes, is tricky. But because like I said, they have that turnover of competitors in the US, and because the United States is part of a rebuilding program, I think that the US could be one of the first countries to have an additional sort of a regular electric Rotax presence, because the karts are very fast, they're reliable, and the racing is good. I mean, the thing that we watched, and you can't listen because they're silent. But what was interesting for me commentating on them was the competitive nature. They've got the push to pass, so drivers are having to think about it. And the racing itself was superb, because of course that's what we can talk about, what engine and stuff like that. But if the product has to be good,
that's it.
And the racing, which might have been a little bit when it first came out in 2018, maybe a little bit patchy. Now the racing is close, it's competitive. The drivers weren't worried. Oh, I've got a down on power battery compared to it was very, very, very equal. Which is of course the hallmarks of what Rotax are trying to achieve.
Yeah, watching all the E20 races, it did seem like it was one of the more competitive divisions that was there at the grand finals, compared to, like you said, in the previous years, where it just seemed like they were just doing laps. And so
this was a real race.
Yeah, it was great to see that. Yeah, no, so it's exciting to see that. And then also afterwards, it looked like on the after party they allowed some racers to take it out, such as Canadians Pierre-Luc Ouellette and Ben Cooper got to take it out, and they had rave reviews. And I think it's the fact that, kind of similar to the whole Rotax program here in USA, where you get new people involved. Once you get some established racers involved in the electric program, it'll kind of help open eyes a little bit more for that as well too.
Yeah, indeed. They had a lot of the Team Canada, both in the evening of the main event, the day after the grand finals as well. I know that there was a group from Chile in South America. That's another market that they're looking into, and as well as a large group of people from the Czech Republic as well. So the Rotax are choosing their markets, and I think there's identified, and certainly the United States is an area where, because there's such a huge market in karting in the United States, and you look at all the different of Scusa and Rock Cup and all the different engines, and Tillotson, the Briggs and Stratton class were a guest class with us in Orlando, and are going to be a guest class again. There's a huge breeding ground for potential new ideas to come in, and I think that as RTX Karting and Grade 14 Motorsport and J3 competition continue that rebuilding rebuilding, re-education, and it's not as though we're trying to take drivers away from other engines brands. It's introduced new drivers to the sport, because I think I'm wearing a Rotax badge, but I do genuinely believe that for somebody starting out in karting, who want to start in two-stroke karting, I believe that Rotax is the easiest way to get into the sport, with the support network and the ease of maintenance for the engine and the structure that's in place. But maybe it will be the E20. I can't say engine. The E20 battery, E20 power unit.
Power unit. Power unit.
That's the one. Power unit.
Well, then listen. That begs the question then to Esteban. Where does RTX and Grid 14? How do they look at the E20 right now? Is that something that is BRP and Rotax saying, listen, the US is one of the targets we'd like to hit with this motor or power unit package? What's the plan?
Yeah, well, we've been speaking a lot. Definitely, the US it's a point of interest for E20 program. But as Henry said, BRP takes matters seriously, and when they deliver a product, it has to work at the perfection. So I think during this year we will have good news about having, maybe at the end of the year or 2023, beginning of 2023, the first possibilities of trying here the engine, the electric engine program. But we really trust on the matter that it has to be done in a way that there are no comeovers and there are no backovers, because that will be bad. So we prefer. I mean, we are certain that it will be a great program, and we really look forward to it. But if it's not in the final of 2022 and it's in the beginning of 2023, we prefer to do it to be really at the perfection and make people aware that when they try one, there's no any kind of bad experience. So everything works perfectly. And then, I mean, the power, it's amazing. It's crazy the power it has. When you compare the numbers, it's like 47 horsepower it has. So it's huge, crazy. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, Henry, let's let's cap things off here and talk now about the next race. You're in the U.S. right now. You're going to stay here. We'll cross our fingers, like Esteban said, that you get some sun and warmth that you're looking for. You didn't get that back in Wales. Well, maybe you'll get that on the first week of February. But let's just ask you, you know, what was it like? You got a chance to announce your first race here in the U.S. You've announced at so many racetracks around the world. You get to come in, as you mentioned. We talked about this before the show. Your mentor, Ken Walker, a good friend of us, David and I at eKartingNews.com, a good friend of a lot of people in the sport. We were lucky to have Ken over here to do a lot of broadcasting, a gentleman for sure.
Absolutely.
But you get a chance to come over here. You're the first UK guy we've had trackside doing the play-by-play for a karting event here in the US and obviously in Florida. How was that first experience?
Well, it was really, really incredible. The welcome that I was given, not just from the organisers, but also the drivers as well. So we had 15, 16 different nations, and of the 60 drivers, 12 have actually qualified for the grand finals before. So the level of talent that was on show in Orlando was really high. So the likes of Alexis Baerjean and Jensen Burnett and Justin White, Gianluca Savaglio, Cameron Weinberg, Felipe Bartz, the list goes on of former grand final, not to mention, both Pitsonia and Rubens Barrichello have both qualified for the grand finals before. Considering all the time that I spend in the States anyway, it's bizarre to think that it's my first time actually announcing over here. Catching up with Ryan Norberg was great. The racing itself was very good. Anytime that you have an event where there's 12, 10, 11 drivers in a class, there's going to be generally you expect to find a bit of disparity between the front and the back. And whilst there was maybe one or two drivers in some of the classes, again, just starting out in karting. I mean, it was Antonio Pitsonia Jr. from Antonio, the son. It's his first ever kart meeting on the weekend. So he was there just to learn. There were several other drivers. I'm thinking of Davin Roberts and Wesley Gundler from North Carolina. Their first time out on a Rotax, full stop. But they did extremely well. In Micromax, your standard 4 or 5 kart battle for the lead, which was great. The youngest driver in the event, Maxwell Matcha, won on Saturday, and he's a great little character. In Minimax, it was good to see Salvador Della Vecchia doing well. Kai Johnson from the US. There were several of the USA drivers who got the tickets for the 2020 grand finals, the one that never was. They were given their Team USA race suits, and they get a chance to wear them. It's the hunger in their eyes to finally get out there, because
that's good insight.
Every driver sort of says, you don't appreciate what it's like to go to the grand finals until you're there. And the change in you as a driver from whether it's your AKT karting, whether it's your Benick race suits, or whether it's whatever team you compete for, when those race suits come off and the one that says Team Canada, Team USA goes on, there's a change in you, and it finally dawns on you that, okay, I may just do this once, but forever and ever I can say to my children, my grandchildren, I represented my country in a sport that I loved. That is really special. Even the likes of Barrichello and Pitsonia, who have raced the very highest level of the sport, the way that Rubens Barrichello and Vince Carey were tearing strips out of each other in one of the races, and the way that Rubens warmly grabbed Vince by his throat, they kissed and made up afterwards. But it just shows that it doesn't matter who you are. The racing was very competitive. The one driver that I've never met before, and who I think is an absolute superstar in the making, is Jorge Ortiz. I know that Orlando Kart Center is his own circuit. His dad, I spoke to him. He said, "This is the first Rotax race that I've been to since 2015." And it said, this is really good. He goes, he said that, I would even do an engine raffle. He said that anyone could have my engine because Jorge is good. I mean, he won in the wet, he won in the dry. Gaston Irasu from Uruguay, who was a former grand finalist, was very good. But, you always, in every event, so I'm sure you guys know, there's somebody that stands out. There's somebody that either exceeds expectations or just shows how special they really are. And Jorge Ortiz is for me somebody who's got a very, very bright future in the sport, in no matter what he's racing in. But I think Team USA have got a real star on their hands with.
We'll take that from Henry right there. Let's wrap things up with Esteban. February 5th to 6th. If drivers want to be part of this program, maybe they've never been on a Rotax before and they want to give it a shot. They want to come to a cool event. Henry is obviously talking about how great the atmosphere was, the vibe was at the track. Where do they go? How do they follow you guys on social media? Let's give them all the information right now to fire things up.
Okay, it's really easy. We are RTX Karting on social media, Instagram, Facebook, our webpage, rtxkarting.com. In there, you will find registration links, all the information about the event, price list, format, schedule, etc. So anybody interested, I mean, it's an awesome opportunity. You can bring your own race. You can rent a race from USA, or you can rent a race from us. It's absolutely the same as Henry was speaking. During this past weekend, we had different engines winning, and they were really different from different service centers. So that's good. That shows the parity in the competition. I mean, some of our engines won, but other of our engines didn't work, and it worked some others. And that, I think that's the greatness about Rotax. It's really competitive. It's really there. You can use it for 40 hours before doing almost any kind of big expense, and that makes the program like a big program. So just follow us. We work hard on social media. It's registration is going to be open right when we finish this interview. Okay. So we have also already 40 plus drivers already registered. Some new that didn't came for event one are coming. We think almost everybody from event one will come because maybe someone didn't like something or don't have any chance. But as they will have 50% plus points on round 3, everybody has a chance. So we think that's a good chance.
Well, I'll tell you this, Rotax was a big part of our editorial coverage through the early years of us having the last decade ago and before that as well. But now we find ourselves in a place where we expect to see a lot more Rotax news coming out. We know there's things coming out from J3 competition. Esteban mentioned some of the stuff that's coming up, talked about all the stuff they'll be doing in the southern states in 2022. There is going to be a ton going on with Rotax. Those of you who may not know about it, it wasn't around when you first started. Rotax is back here in the United States, and of course, all leading to that massive event, the Grand Finals, easily one of the best, if not the best, karting event that happens each year, travels around the world. Portimao, Portugal will be the 2022 edition. I'm sure Henry will be front and center for that one. Henry, thank you so much, man, for joining us.
Thank you very much. Sorry, thank you very much. Let me just quickly
get that hat back on.
Thank you very much, guys.
The first time I've ever got a chance to talk to Henry here. We're both obviously announcers, commentators. I like you a lot. I like that hat. I think that your approach.
Yes, well, hey,
we're kindred spirits, Henry. I can't wait to work with you.
I think so. I'm warm into you as well, guys.
We need to work together sometime.
You can't have fun in life. What can you do? And I'm from Wales, so I mean, we're laughed at a lot. So
well, you're from Wales. I'm from Canada. Cole's the American, so I love the fact that you're ripping on. That's fantastic. Excellent. Esteban, thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I mean, it's a nice way. What you speak about Rotax is great. We're working hard. We need all the support possible. We need people to know about Rotax, to be able to test Rotax. As you said, it's a rebuilding, word-to-word basis, having some big events, regional events, club races events. We need to be near drivers, and that's the objective for this 2022.
What a fantastic face-to-face, folks. Esteban Del Rio from RTX Karting and Grid 14. Of course, the voice of Rotax internationally, Henry Beaudette, joining us from Royal Oak, Michigan. I like the fact that he's still here in the U.S. We'll cross our fingers for 80-degree temperature for you, Henry. I want you to enjoy some
the comfort
Florida
conditions
sunshine.
outside,
Some Florida
either heating conditions or a heater.
February the 5th and 6th, folks, down at Orlando Kart Center. If you got that weekend opening, you may be up in the frozen tundra like Henry and David, myself are right now. Head south, get to Florida, have some fun, sample a Rotax. I've driven them, Dave's driven them. A ton of fun to drive, a great engine package. And again, as we said, making a big comeback here in the USA right now. Big thank you to Henry. Big thank you to Esteban. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this new edition. David, let's drop those guys in the back. We'll wrap things up.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
We need to go Rotax racing, Dave.
Yeah, no, I'm pumped. You know, it's really cool to hear the positivity coming from them from that event. Again, it's about educating the racers. As we said, 3 years is probably the average lifespan of karters. There's not a lot of lifers, but there's more lifers growing. And I think Rotax is one way to grow more lifers in the sport, because as they said, it's about reliability, it's about family, and that's really what we're here, and fun.
Yeah,
that's
one
really
engine too. One engine.
So
all the way through your life, you can have that one engine. Again, big thank you to those guys for joining us. I raced Rotax a long time ago on a first kart at the Florida Winter Tour. Was when I did that the whole year in the Rotax. I had an absolute blast running. I think it was the senior heavy class. They didn't have a master's class somewhere back then. I actually got to go head to head with Mike Wilson.
I think he went over
he
in front
flipped
of you,
and broke like 6 ribs, but he blew by me at the start. No, I'm not surprised. Anyways, guys, it was a great show, face to face again with myself, Rob Howden and David Cole. Those were the good folks from RTX Karting and Grid 14, the Rotax Winter Trophy, February 5th and 6th at Orlando Kart Center. Get down there and have some fun. On behalf of all the guys who are on the show, of course, David Cole, Rob Howden. Bye for now.